Kneel Before Blog presents Kneel Before Pod.
Internet. The current frontier. These are the voyages of the website Kneel Before Blog. Its continuing mission to explore strange new shows, to seek out conversations about nerdy obsessions, to have discussions that many have had before. Captain's Log, Supplemental. Our mission to pay tribute to the Star Trek franchise on its 50th birthday is going well and drawing to a close. Our journey through the franchise brings us to Enterprise, the theatrical releases, characters, and what we hope to see in the future. Officer Peters soldiers on despite being in the middle of travelling, which creates some interesting background noise, and spirits among the crew remain high. Now on to Enterprise, the series that deals with the early days of humanity exploring space as Captain Archer and his crew blaze a trail for Kirk, Picard, and all others who will come after them. Kick off with my favourite episode, which is the Season 3 episode Damage, where Enterprise licks her wounds after his Indy attack. And it's probably the first time in Star Trek you see a ship so banged up have it stick. And it's the lowest point of the season in terms of how hopeless it is for everyone. And Archer makes that really crushing moral decision where he decides to steal the warp coil from that helpless ship. So he leads an unprovoked attack to steal this thing because he needs it to go on. And again, like in The Pale Moonlight, it doesn't apologise for his decision and points out that Archer knows exactly how wrong it is. And the action sequence where they take the warp coil is really well choreographed. It's a great episode, lots of morality, the characters are good, and it's really cool how you see Enterprise coming down around their ears. Just great.
Yeah, that's quite good. Yeah, I actually enjoyed it as well. It was refreshing to see a Starfleet ship so dinged up and in need of repair.
Yeah.
And then like you say, the crushing choice of stranding these people.
Yeah.
I mean that was a tough call.
Yeah, and did Archer make the right decision? It's still up for debate.
Yep.
Who knows? You don't know what happened to that ship after. They may have been picked on by scavengers and killed.
This is true, or they may have just went on their merry way. We do not know.
Yeah. It's a great one. Sandy, do you want to continue?
Okay, yeah. I kind of like Enterprise. I really liked it because I'm just prefacing a little, because it was the first series where everything was bigger and badder than them. I mean, original series. The Enterprise is the most powerful ship in the quadrant. Next Generation, the Enterprise is the most powerful ship in the quadrant. DS9, it's a badass space station.
And they have the Defiant.
And they've got the Defiant. And then you've got Voyager, most technologically advanced starship for the most part in the quadrant. Enterprise is the first one where everything's bigger and badder than them.
Yeah. No, definitely. I like Enterprise too.
So that's why I like it. And one of the ones that I really like is Observer Effect.
Okay.
It's
Season 4. Yeah.
Season 4, so it's quite late on. It's where two aliens inhabit. It's Reed and Mayweather.
Yeah, they have a go at everyone, but yeah, they're the main.
But those are the ones who were introduced to as having been taken over. And after returning from an innovation mission, Tucker and Sato have a strange disease. And Phlox does his best to try and get rid of it, but it's a silicon-based virus, and he's not got much of a chance. And these people are observing, and as it turns out, they've been observing people for millennia. Or was it 800 years, something like that?
It's a long time, yeah.
A long time watching people come across this disease, and they're saying, and they have a strict no interference policy, basically like Starfleet's prime directives, and they eventually give them hints, and they change the ways they are. And from what I understand, these are Organians.
Yes.
Who we later...
What?
Uh-oh, here we go.
Spoiler alert.
Wait. How do we know they're Organian? How did that happen?
It tells you at some point, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm fairly certain. I mean, I'm reading the synopsis to refresh my memory, and their actual first contact. These were actually Organians. They never told the crew that.
No.
So the crew aren't aware of it. So Starfleet is still unaware of the Organians until obviously we see them in Errand of Mercy in the original series.
And they erase everyone's memory of the event, so they think the virus magically cures itself.
Yeah. Basically. I just thought it was a really nice one where you had the non-interference from aspect from the other side of the argument this time. Usually it's Starfleet, and they're sitting pretty, and they could come to someone's aid, but they decide not to. Non-interference. This time, Starfleet's on the back show on that one.
There's one thing that always annoyed me about that episode when they're doing surgery, or when they're trying to revive Tucker and Hoshi, and they're wearing the spacesuits.
Yeah.
I mean, do they not have any surgical gear or radiation suits or anything that are they're designed to be worked on in sterile environments?
Good point. Good point.
It always, I mean, it's a minor thing and it doesn't really detract much, but it always bugs me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like it because it's completely it's the crew are there along. They're along for the ride this time. They're not making the decisions. It's these two aliens.
Yeah.
I like it. It's out of the box.
Yeah. Nick, what's your pick for Enterprise?
I'm going to say the Augment part. That would be Borderland, Cold Station 12, and the Augments.
Okay.
It's just a well-crafted story. Lots of Brent Spiners, Sun's ancestors. We get to see the Ryans. We get to learn more about the eugenics wars and the history of data, really, and the Orions, and we get to delve into some interest. And the crew goes on adventure, and we get to see things that we normally see, and it's just a cracking adventure.
It is. It was my number 2.
Yeah. Again, it's well written and well acted, and it gets into the nitty gritty of the Star Trek universe in a way that we don't always get to do. I really enjoyed it. It's a really good 3-parter.
Yeah, and it's when Enterprise started getting really good, and it started getting on concept as well.
Yeah.
And the way they're always just one step ahead. You're like, always they've got them now, and no, they've thought of that.
Yeah.
And
what was the leader's name? Malik, I think his name was. He was very much a discount Khan.
Oh yeah.
He tried to copy Montalban's mannerisms, somewhat unsuccessfully.
Yeah, I think he did a good job with what he did, and I mean, I think part of the idea was he was a discount Khan.
Yeah.
I think that was part of the point of him. He wasn't perhaps as smart, or he was as smart and as flawed as Khan.
Yes.
He has the same frailties as Khan, despite his, being superhuman. He had the same kind of egotistical problems and the same lack of humility and compassion. And that again was his downfall.
Didn't know where to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked those episodes. Brent Spiner's always good to see him, and playing another Soong.
Yeah. And again, you see the early kind of start of Data.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually very true, because right at the end, he starts penning his idea for the positronic brain.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody's ever heard the fan theory that he goes and he goes and lives on the Baku planet in the Briar Patch and becomes Noonien Sung later on.
Yeah, I have heard that theory. Maybe it's
possible. It's possible. I mean, if he's going to be spending life in prison, he's not going to have time to,
Mm-hmm. Well, when we first meet Noonien Sung, he looks to be about 300.
Yeah.
He's quite old, yes. He's portrayed as a very, very old person.
Yeah.
Obviously by the same person.
Yeah. But hey, yeah, it was cool. I really liked that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Cold Station 12 and with basically the entire arc, that was high on my list.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we really put the crew through the ringer as well and put them in some difficult situations. You get to see Archer be the captain.
Yes.
In a way that he wasn't quite when the show started, but by the time you get here, he really is. He's being well written, and he's the character he should have been all along.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And how cool is that maneuver where they use the grappler to break the Klingon ship's engines? That's pretty badass.
He did some different things. Enterprise was really starting to shake it up a little bit at that point.
Yeah.
And it's a shame they didn't get to go on for another season or two.
Yeah, absolutely.
It definitely had the strength to do a 5 and maybe even a 6.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. So, Alec, what's your pick for Enterprise?
So my pick for Enterprise is First Flight. The episode where we see the first Warp 4, right? First Warp 4 ship. And we see A.G. Robinson, played by Keith Carradine, as Archer's basically his competition in the who's going to be the first captain of the to go out in space. And I love that episode for a lot of reasons. One, Keith Carradine is brilliant in it. A.G. Robinson basically should have been the captain of the Enterprise because we see all the things that is wrong with Archer that we actually have seen throughout the rest of the series. I mean, Archer is not a well-written character. He is boring. I listen. Scott Bakula's a great actor, a very good actor. He's not good as Archer. A lot of that is because I don't think Archer is well written, and he's boring. And now we see why. And A.G. Robinson calls him on it. He says, there's a lot more to being captain than doing well in the simulator. And tell me how much more fascinating the A.G. Robinson character was than Jonathan Archer.
They learned their lesson by season 4 with Archer, and hopefully season 1 and 2 Archer is pretty dull.
Yeah, certainly during season 3 he really starts to grow.
Right, and you also have, we learn how Trip meets Archer. That's cool. So I like seeing early Trip, and also you see that I love that warp test bed spacecraft. I think that's really cool, and the fact that it launches like the ship in When's World Collide launches on a ski jump. That's freaking awesome. Love that. So I really loved everything about that episode. It was really, my favorite. I have one of the big wall panels. I have Archer's pad, because I collect Star Trek props and costumes. So I have some stuff for that. So there you go. That's my favorite.
And we finally get to see the 602 Club that had been mentioned so many times, and meet Ruby. I think her name is Trip's estranged girlfriend.
Yeah.
Is it Ruby? Yeah.
Ruby,
someone
is that
like that. Whoever Trip was crushing on, who worked in the 602 Club. That's who we meet her. Yeah, it's a good choice. Okay, we'll move on to the bad of Enterprise, which is apparently not an easy choice for Sandy, according to some early conversation. So you're up first.
Oh, you swine. Co-genitor.
Oh, okay.
It's just, I don't like the way Trip goes all half-cocked and interferes in between. It's just too interfering, and what's this with the captors disappearing off into a sun? Surely you would send some lower class person in there that you don't really need, and
I don't know. Archer really wanted to be there. I think I understand why he would want to be in there, seeing it for himself.
I understand that, but
this is Star Trek. The captain always goes on the dumbass missions that
That's the cool assignments.
should be going.
Yeah, you've got a good point there, actually. But I just don't like. Andreas. It was nice to see Andreas Katsulas again because he was a steady, a recurring character in Next Generation. So it was nice to see him getting picked up for Enterprise, even if it was just the one episode. He always just adds. I don't know, just a little something to the screen. I don't know what it is. I mean, he was far better in his scenes than Archer was in his scenes in this episode. Yeah. But I just don't like the fact this whole interference thing and the way he's getting away with it for so long until it really, really sours relations.
Yeah, actually, I don't mind that episode so much because at the end of it, Trip isn't, Trip isn't forgiven for what he did, and it's seen as a bad thing, and it is allowed to be a bad thing as well, because Star Trek so often makes the lead character right. They're self-righteous and they're ultimately right in what they do, but Trip really screws it up in this episode, and it results in the death of someone, and that's, in theory, something he has to live with. Of course, the Archer and Trip's relationship is repaired by the next episode, and they move on with their lives, but I guess in a better season, that would have really informed their interactions for the rest of it.
Indeed, I mean it didn't,
but it doesn't.
That is one of its. I mean, it is a bit of a saving grace that there is a chewing. He gets a chewing out at the end.
Yes.
For his lack of professionalism and judgment. But you don't see any consequences after that. It's not like a slap on the wrist. Don't do it again. And the next one, it's like you're going to come to the mess for dinner with the captain.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see why you wouldn't like that one. That's fair enough. Nick, what about you? What's your least favourite?
My least favourite, I'm going to say Precious Cargo, which, if you know the episode, Trip gets stuck in an escape pod with spoiled princess from Alien. And it's just dreadful. It's
from the same race as that woman who was promised to someone in that TNG episode.
It's badly written. You're right, it is. Creation. It's badly written. The acting's not great because they cast some model in the role. I guess they're trying to do it for publicity. She just wasn't. She wasn't much of an actor, and it's just painful to watch. I mean, it's this usual predictable. Oh, these two characters that hate each other end up loving each other, and blah blah blah. Yeah, it's awful, and it's painful to watch. It's actually embarrassing to watch.
It's a fairly dire one, I would say.
Pretty dreadful. To be fair, I had trouble picking a least favourite episode of Enterprise. It's actually looking through it. There's a lot more good there than bad. Yeah. Despite what some people may think.
I'm surprised that a particular one
any
was
names?
chosen. But,
so not naming any names, just in general,
Yeah. Alec, what would you say is your least favourite Enterprise episode?
Well, listen, Nick just stole my thunder. It was Precious Cargo. It was awful. It was just like predictable, and it was, oh wow, we're going to do a Taming of the Shrew episode. Oh, that's original. And
that's what I meant to say. Yeah, it's pretty woeful.
It is, bad. If you're
going to steal from Shakespeare, don't fuck it up.
Well, yeah, exactly. And here's the other thing, though I will say, as we go through the series, I think it is harder and harder to find truly dreadful episodes, because overall, although Star Trek became repetitive, and as Rob Burnett always says, a copy of a copy of a copy, as they ran out of ideas and ran out of imagination and just ran the franchise into the ground, the extremes became, well, at least the bottom. The bar was raised. Like you didn't have truly dreadful episodes like you had in the first two seasons of Next Generation, as the bar kept raising. So they're bad, but they're not bad 80s sci-fi bad, right? Because all of now we're producing Star Trek in the early aughts. So it was things got better. TV producing got better. Special effects got better. The writing got better. The writers were used to it. They knew what the worst episodes were from Next Generation or Deep Space, and they didn't make those mistakes again. So I think that as you move through Star Trek, the episodes don't get, the bad episodes aren't as bad, but overall the episodes are more bland and repetitive and not as spectacular.
Yeah,
my take.
No, I think that I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
My personal least favourite of Enterprise is A Night in Sickbay from Season 2, where Archer worries about his dog and throws diplomacy out the window while he does it. It has no sense of pace. Archer acts like a stroppy child throughout. Like, goes off on one at Phlox for trying to help him, basically.
It's
also, there's that famous... Yeah. And there's that infamous scene where he asked T'Pol if she apologised for whatever it was they did, and she said she extended them his sincerest apologies, and he says, "Where'd you get off on extending them my sincerest apologies?" So, just told me to, sort of thing.
I mean, like it's a prime example of what Alex was saying about the way Archer was written in those first couple of seasons. It just he wasn't well written.
Yes. And that's a great example. Yeah, it's the best example of the worst of Archer. I just hate it. And it gives you weird updates on what time it happens to be for no reason. And there's this whole sexual frustration thing that Archer has with T'Pol that never appears again.
Well, we all share that sexual frustration. No.
So yeah, it's just bad. And can I just say, I'm baffled that no one said these are the voyages.
Oh, true, huh? That's yeah.
One, it's too easy, and B,
yeah.
I like what they tried to do in These Are the Voyages, even if they didn't do it very well.
Same here. I liked the These Are the Voyages bit at the end.
Yeah, the last scene is great, but that's it.
There's two things I think they should have done with These Are the Voyages. Two ways they could have done it. A, it should have been based around Riker's decision to take command of the Titan prior to Nemesis. Do I take command? Do I not?
Or him inducting like the 200th world into the Federation or something like that.
Or the other thing it could have been is maybe they should have made it this unseen episode. This unseen moment from some mission that they're on that ties into what's happening to this. And they could have set it during the movies rather than the series, so they're a bit older. But they could have tied it that way. I realise they wanted to tie it into TNG. They could still have done it kind of late TNG, I guess. Or they could have set it between...
I don't know. Squeezing Frakes into the old uniform. That's a bit of a reach.
Speaking of which, I liked how they gave the TNG a Mandarin collar one last hurrah.
Yeah.
Because I like that costume.
They could have fitted it in between the end of TNG and Generations.
Yeah.
We could have seen an unseen mission or a taste of an unseen mission.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people would moan about, hey, that never happened. Look.
Because it would know it was like a new episode of TNG. That would have been kind of neat. I don't think people would have complained about that nearly as much as they complained about what they got. And
I would have just liked to see the last episode of Enterprise, personally.
Well, we did. We got 2 episodes beforehand.
Yeah, Terra Prime. That's the real finale. Yeah.
But then
Agreed.
Terra Prime was the finale of Enterprise, and These Are the Voyages was the finale of Star Trek. And if you look at it that way, actually, cool.
That's interesting.
But
that's really interesting.
They
like that.
do it very well. And I think the other problem, they took an episode that was a great episode and fucked it up. It's like, no, do not mess with this episode. Also, you make Riker look like a completely incompetent numbskull. I think I'll go and play in the holodeck because I can't decide whether I should tell Picard about this. It's like, why would he go to the holodeck for that?
It seems like they hadn't watched
the holodeck, for goodness sake. Troy would say, Will, don't be a dipshit. Go and talk to Picard. Troy would go to the holodeck and see what Captain Archer did. No, she wouldn't. It's just bad. Great idea, terrible decision in how they executed it.
Yeah, there's also the nonsense of it doesn't fit in with the Pegasus at all. It seems like the writers hadn't watched it
really
at all.
doesn't. You know,
And because in that episode, Riker makes the decision to fill Picard in split second when there's no other way out.
And that's the thing as well, because they actually detract from Riker in that episode. If you take These Are the Voyages at face value, it detracts from Riker. It makes Riker look like a complete idiot.
Yes.
Whereas he's clearly torn between these two characters and struggling, but he finds time to go to the holodeck and watch Archer mess about. Really? No.
And the link is very tenuous.
Very tenuous, yeah. Whereas they could have easily crafted a story that would come together with the Enterprise crew. They could have easily done something like that, but they didn't. You know what? I don't have a bone to pick about it. I know what they were trying to do. I applaud the effort. It's just the execution's just not there.
Well, I don't agree with a lot of people who obviously don't like Enterprise. Say that episode obviously means that all of Enterprise was just a holodeck.
Yeah, that's just nonsense.
That's a lot of nonsense. It was just that episode.
And These Are the Voyages, you don't see any external shots of Enterprise because they're in the holodeck.
Nope, you don't. Which is why I say it's not the last episode of Enterprise, it's the last episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the first positive argument I've heard for it, so I'm glad that was here. I just don't like it at all. When I rewatch Enterprise, I don't bother with it.
I don't like the execution of it. I do like the idea.
Yeah, it was a grand idea.
Yeah. I think it was the wrong story, though.
So that's cool. So we made it all the way through the TV series. Star Trek has had 13 theatrical releases ever since the motion picture right up to the current Star Trek Beyond. And everyone has their favourites and least favourites. So I don't know if Alec wants to kick us off with his favourite Star Trek movie.
Oh, God. I mean, it's cheap to say Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, but let's face it, it is the best Star Trek movie. I'm not even sure. I know there's certainly out here amongst my friends and colleagues in Hollywood, there's a very small group of very dedicated sci-fi fans that think it's Star Trek the Motion Picture. And because it's the closest Star Trek movie to a Star Trek episode. And while I get that, let's face it, no one liked Star Trek the Motion Picture when it came out. And, unless you're just a hardcore Star Trek nut who just, it's hard to say that movie is the best Star Trek movie. What is great about that movie? Is the acting great? Nope. Is the story great? Nope. We've seen it before. It's called The Changeling. Oh, what about that movie was, other than, Star Trek's back. Yeah, Star Trek was back. That was cool. That doesn't mean it was a great movie. So I was always amazed when people would say, a couple of my friends, I think Ron Burnett is among them. But whereas if you take a poll of Star Trek fans, I think, 90-something% are going to tell you it's Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And I think it's hard to argue with that. It had everything you wanted in a Star Trek movie. Now, I think it's not only the best Star Trek movie, I think it's one of the top 10 science fiction movies of all time.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. I'll go next. My actual favourite is not The Wrath of Khan, although I do rate it very highly. I love The Undiscovered Country. I think it's a great character piece. It's a great farewell to the original series crew. It has everyone gets something to do. Everyone plays to their strengths. There's a bit of uncertainty about it. Everyone's a little bit racist, which I like because they've been in this Cold War for so long that they don't see the Klingons as someone that they can ever get along with. And it's going to be very difficult for them. It has great action. Christopher Plummer is a great villain with General Chang. It's just, the mystery works really well, although I have misgivings about the execution of it, but it all hangs together so well for me. I love The Undiscovered Country.
Good point. Like it. Yep. I like it.
Love it. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Very good movie.
It's good.
I mean, there are things that I don't like about that movie. I mean, I hate the whole Rura Penthe prison planet stuff. I just don't like any of that stuff. But sorry, Nick.
I hate the comic relief in it.
Yeah, it's not right.
Like Uhura has to haul out a load of books for this comic.
Not good.
Yeah,
not good.
Why
Uhura
not?
can't speak Klingon. Yeah, that's a bit weird.
Oh, Chekhov has to have Valeris explain to him how the security systems in the ship work. Chekhov's been a security officer on the ship 20 years. Seriously.
Yeah.
He's not a moron.
Yeah. Although she explains to the audience who happen to be Chekhov.
She does, but surely it should have been Chekhov explaining to the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are little niggles in there, and especially when Spock talks about you can't throw the gravity boots out the window for all to see. It's like, well, you're in space. Yeah, you can. No one's going to see them.
No, not really.
Oh, it's a good film. It's entertaining, and the cast are on the game, but it's not one of my favorites. I do enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Nick, what's your favorite?
Okay,
we've already mentioned.
I go back and forth quite a lot actually on this, but for now I'm going to say First Contact.
Oh, you swine!
That's a good call.
Yeah.
No, it was good. That was going to be my pick.
There's things I like about all the movies, even Final Frontier, even though it's awful. And there's people that like Final Frontier, which is cool. I like the motion picture a lot for all its flaws. But First Contact was the good TNG movie.
It feels like a film, which is more than you can say for some of the others.
It's also where the... Yeah, go ahead.
I like all the TNG movies. That is my favorite, though. I like Insurrection a lot. And actually, I think there are things about Nemesis that are good, even though the overall execution could have been better. I think Nemesis, there's a good story in there. I would love to see somebody go back and cut a better cut of it.
I agree with you, Nick.
Yeah.
It has a good cut for a generic action sci-fi movie.
Yep, I agree. Get rid of all the B4 stuff.
Yeah, well,
all of it. It's all got to go.
Made no sense.
I would like to go back and see them cut it with a lot more of the character stuff and make it more of a TNG movie. But I don't think that's I don't think it's a horrible movie. I think it deserves to. I don't think it deserves to do gangbusters, but I think it deserved to do better than it did. And it's a shame the TNG cast went out on that movie. It wasn't the best, but I don't think it's terrible. But yeah, definitely First Contact. It looks great. As Sandy said, it feels like a movie. The Borg are back and they actually feel like a threat again. And while I wasn't too sold on the idea of including the Borg Queen, she does actually add something to it. And it gives Picard some play. And Patrick Stewart, as usual, is awesome. And the denouement is very beautifully played out. Everybody, the TNG movies did kind of turn into the Picard and Data show. But First Contact, everybody gets a piece of the pie and has something important to do. Okay, maybe not Beverly.
Talking about the Borg Queen, best entrance ever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Frakes, I think pretty prominently says, he just steals from the best. But I mean, he did some great work on that movie, and it looks great. Even when he went back and did reshoots to ramp up the tension and stuff, all stuff that added to it, and it's just a good sci-fi movie, but also a good Star Trek movie. And I liked what they did with Cochrane.
Yeah, and it gives us
who was clearly, he was clearly a bit of an analogy for Gene Roddenberry in there.
Yeah, and we get a holiday that we can all celebrate out of it. April 5th.
You can actually see, Cochrane's quote about, I wasn't a visionary. I just wanted to make money and buy an island and live with naked women. You could see Gene Roddenberry saying something like that.
Yeah, that is a
in
good
the 60s, scene. Maybe not in the 80s, but it was nice, and I liked it, and I thought it created a nice story and it enhanced the whole Trek milieu. I really like that movie. It's a good movie.
I also liked the sequel in Enterprise. I thought that episode was all right,
and it led to a very good sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although you had that really ham-fisted scene where Archer said, "I just remembered about this speech Cochrane gave where he talked about cybernetic alien things from the future."
No, I think that was actually again, Voyager kind of did the Borg to death, but this was the first time in quite a few years that we'd seen the Borg, and they were actually a threat again.
Yeah.
It was nice, apart from the whole, again, ham-fisted, maybe we've left this off for a problem for the 24th century. Did you really need to say that? Did you really need to say that? You didn't need to say that. Just leave it unsaid.
Yeah.
Or just say, well, I guess we've handed this off to somebody else's problem, blah, blah. Or that was just a little bit too ham-fisted there. But other than that, I think it's a great episode as well. Yeah,
it's fine. So, Sandy, we've stolen all your choices, but give us what you've got.
I must admit, my go-to film, if I want to watch a bit of Trek, The Voyage Home.
Yes.
It is a good movie.
I just love it. It's just got so much going for it. It's humour. It's a what if as well, and you're like, it was a nice little poke in the side. Actually, more of a slap in the face to all the whalers of the time. And I would like to say it maybe even provoked some sort of change, because it wasn't too long after that whaling started to become unfashionable.
It's a good movie. I like it a lot.
I like it. I mean, Nimoy at his best for directing and for acting.
Yes.
The hospital chase scene, the music, it's iconic. I love it. It's everybody remember where we parked. Fantastic.
Yeah, when they park in the middle of Golden Gate Park and no one notices them.
And as well, the two trashmen is like, you saw nothing. No, I don't know what you're talking about. And off they go.
No one runs into them over the course of the film at all. It's just,
indeed, exactly.
They're in the middle of one of the busiest parks in the world, and no one runs into them.
And it's just a brilliant film. It's got everything going for it. You can't fault it, really.
I mean, it gave a generation of Star Trek fans reason to change their definition of swearing to colourful metaphor.
When we were in San Francisco a few weeks ago, we ended up touring quite a lot of the filming locations for that.
I saw
your photos, and
I'm like, oh, I'm dead jealous.
Maybe I could take one of your photos of the what was the Station Institute for the show notes.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Yeah.
Sure thing.
It's really funny, and who hasn't been on a bus and wanted to nerve pinch some idiot playing music loudly?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when they've got the headphones on, but you can hear their music clear across the other side of the bus.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to slap him in the face for tell him you're damaging your hearing, and you're just going to be a burden on society at some point, because no doubt you're going to start claiming from from our tax to get hearing aids and stuff like that. Just turn it down, and also it's crap music.
Yeah. So great choice, which takes us on to the least favourite movies, and since the motionless picture's already been mentioned, I will pick something else, and I'm not going to go for the obvious, but maybe it is obvious, but for me it would be Into Darkness. I just don't like it. As I mentioned in the podcast that we did a while back, I think it borrows too heavily from Wrath of Khan. I don't think it goes anywhere interesting, and anything it had going for it kind of gets eroded in the second half.
It's Michael Bay in space.
Yeah, I just don't like it.
One thing else, it doesn't. It really only borrows one scene from Wrath of Khan, and it does it very badly, I have to say.
A pivotal scene.
I saw the switch up.
It's more a remake of Space Seed than Wrath of Khan.
Actually, that's a good point.
But I have to say, as a generic action sci-fi movie, it's pretty entertaining. As a Star Trek movie, not so sure about it.
I love the first 10 minutes where they're on Nibiru.
Awesome. Yeah, the first 10 minutes is awesome.
Yeah. After that, it kind of goes downhill progressively.
I enjoyed it a lot as an action movie. I didn't enjoy it so much as a Star Trek movie.
Yeah. I'm glad they brought it back for Beyond, though. They upped their game.
I wish they hadn't used Khan.
Yeah. Didn't need it.
It could have just been Starfleet Officer John Harrison.
Yes.
Easily.
Going rogue.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then Kirk learns how important these rules are by looking at someone who breaks them so routinely.
And then again as well, instead of having Khan crashing the ship into San Francisco, you could have done something completely different with them. Actually, Harrison and Kirk working together to stop Marcus.
Yep.
And maybe they're trying to stop Marcus crashing his ship into Kronos.
Yeah, that would all have worked. It would all have been good.
Well, of course, we have to put the Earth in danger again. And, let's destroy Alcatraz while we're at it, because my Alcatraz TV show just got cancelled. So this will be really funny if we destroy Alcatraz.
Yes. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, he did.
It's just kind of cheap.
Abrams did. Alcatraz was a good TV show, actually.
It's actually a good TV show. Sorry it got cancelled. And, Sam Neill. Can't go wrong with a bit of Sam Neill.
Yeah. I didn't see it, but...
It's a good show.
Got cancelled because they did exactly to it what they did to Firefly. They showed it out of sequence, and people were going, what's all this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna interject here and say, well, not interject. I'm just gonna put in my tuppence. Star Trek 3.
I quite like 3.
I love Star Trek 3.
It's got its good points, but it's overall, I find it's just slow, and it's a film that I would skip.
It looks cheap.
It's it looks cheap. I mean, it's got some good lines. What have I done? What you've always done. Turn death into life, and don't call me Shorty.
Tiny.
Don't call me Tiny. Yeah, I mean, it's got some good lines in it. I'll give it that. It's got some nice little comedy moments, and it's got some nice little reality moments. But it's just slow, and I don't think a Klingon captain would be that daft as to send his entire crew over.
No, although Krug is your first honourable Klingon. The bit where he says to Kirk, where Kirk says, "Give me a minute to inform my crew," and he says, "I give 2 minutes for you and your gallant crew."
Yeah,
that's a really nice moment.
Something that Khan didn't.
Yeah, and that scene from the and that scene of them stealing the Enterprise is just so well put together.
It is okay. Yeah, that is quite good.
The model work is just beautiful.
Although
sorry, on you go.
It is number 3 where you see the damaged Enterprise come in, and you see those people absolutely in shock and horror as they see this ship coming in.
Yeah, and one of them's Rand, I think.
Yeah, of course, because she recognises the ship straight away, doesn't she? Yeah. Obviously, because it's got Enterprise emblazoned on the side of it. But it's a nice scene of, you would like to see, what would people see? Because they've got these big, massive windows. They can see all these ships coming in. One of them's going to come in dinged at some point. And here you've got the flagship of the fleet coming in, torn to pieces and patched up.
It wasn't really the flagship at that point. It was just a training ship.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
It's a historic vessel, so yeah.
I've always liked 3, actually. It was the first movie I saw in the cinema. And I think it also has the distinction. It's the first movie where the crew are treated like a family.
Yes.
Because they weren't really treated that way, and treated as an ensemble, because they weren't really prior to that. Now, Nimoy kind of continued that in 4, but then it went more by the wayside later on. But
5 still has it as well.
5 still does, but not to the same extent. And I think that was partly... It's not quite the same, though. Nimoy kept it in the kind of same tone for 4, but Shatner's tone was very different. And while I guess they are kind of still a family, they're not in the same kind of ensemble as they were in the previous 2 movies. And I think one of the reasons that you get all kind to Kay and Koenig and Nichols have this idea of their characters as part of the family doesn't go back to the series at all, because they weren't in the series. But when Star Trek 3 rolls around, they suddenly become this family. So I always liked that about Star Trek 3. And I love the end scene.
Okay, it's got a nice... Yeah, you're correct. You're quite right. I can't fault the end scene.
And as the middle part of a trilogy, it works as well.
But, a lot of people don't like 3, and I understand that. It's cool, but, it's one I've always liked.
Yeah. And last but by no means least, Alec, what's your least favourite Star Trek film that isn't the motionless picture?
Well, I mean, Star Trek 5, just...
It's the last one on the board.
Oh, God, it's bad. And, I know everyone wants to say, well, if they had a better budget... No, if you had a better story... it might have worked. I don't care how much more the budget would have been. I mean, all that would have brought you was special effects and more scenes. That it's just, I don't know. It was dreadful. Now, that being said, I loved Lawrence Luckinbill as Sybok. Loved him. I thought it was awesome. But I will say my little story about Star Trek V is I remember before it came out, and I was in the supermarket, and in this checkout stand there was the National Enquirer, and it had story of Star Trek V revealed. So, of course, for the first time in my life, I picked up the National Enquirer, which is like the tabloid of all tabloids here in the United States back in the day. And I read it, and I'm reading what they're saying, and I'm like, this is such crap. It'll never be that. Of course, it was dead on. It was exactly what the movie was. But so that's my Star Trek V memory. But, not good.
I think there is a good story in there. I just... it needed another 2 or 3 passes on the script.
Yeah, there are parts of it I really like. Sorry.
Wasn't there some sort of strike at the time that stopped the writers?
I think Shatner has a list of excuses as long as your arm about why it's not that good. And he'll trot them out at a moment's notice. But I think a bad film. Yeah,
could have been good, and I think a lot of it depended on. If they'd had subsequent drafts of the script, I think they could have polished it up and actually had a decent movie. Because there is a good story in there. Yeah. They just didn't bring it out.
It's very self-indulgent. Because Kirk's directing it and he has a hand in writing it, it's all about Kirk, and everyone needs Kirk in their life right now.
This is one of the mistakes Shatner made. I think when he knew he was directing, he should have said, okay, this story should not be about Kirk.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a step back from this. Kirk will be in it. Kirk will be important in it, but there should be a story about the other characters, or about Spock, or about McCoy, or about... In fact, it should have been a Spock story, because it was about Spock's brother.
Yeah.
Yep.
It should have been Spock's story.
Well, I think the writing nails the interactions between Spock, Kirk, and McCoy.
It's the original series.
Yeah.
It nails the tone of the original series in some ways, in the relationships between those characters.
Yeah.
And also, it has one thing Shatner did. Look at the bridge. The bridge is gorgeous.
Yeah,
they made the ship look interior-wise look great. The visual effects were terrible.
Yeah,
interiors are great.
And the Klingon captain, he's quite cool. He's just he
was okay.
Yes, it's got its moments. I mean, I enjoy watching it. Spock be one with a horse. And stuff like that. It's got its moments.
I watched it a couple of years ago.
The fan dance.
A long time. And I actually, I enjoyed it. It wasn't the most entertaining movie, but it was kind of fun. Yeah.
I don't find it unwatchable. I think there are some good bits in it. It has one of the best Kirk lines in it where he says, he always knew he'd die alone.
Yeah.
Or with some bald guy.
Starship.
Maybe. And actually, there was a bit in Beyond like that reminded me of where he's falling into the fan, and then Spock and McCoy save him. And I was thinking, he's falling, and he knows he won't die because they're there. That was that made me think of that.
I did think of that as well when I was watching that.
And ultimately, he didn't die alone.
No.
They stole that from us. Him dying alone.
Yeah. Although I think alone in this case means without Spock and McCoy.
Without his friends, basically, yeah.
And as long as they're around him, nothing can kill him, which is fair enough. But yeah, it's very self-indulgent, making it about Kirk being the center of the universe. And Shatner's novels are like that.
Oh yeah. Well, as much of them as he's written himself.
Well, the guy still charges $100 for a signature. So he's full of himself. I mean, all praise to him for his acting and for what he's done with Star Trek, for Star Trek and everything. But he's still a bit full of himself.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's not uncommon.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not the worst of them. Definitely.
I mean, Alec has said before that Hollywood ego. Everybody's got egos in Hollywood, and that's the only way to get ahead.
Oh yeah.
It's just some people let it rule their how people see them, and other people's a little bit more canny about it.
I don't think there are many people who choose acting as a career or creative careers that don't have some degree of ego. I think it's kind of unavoidable.
Yes.
Also, ego is not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
I mean, what it is when ego turns into arrogance.
Yeah. I think creative.
That's when that you start having a problem. I mean, ego is an important. I think all achievers of any.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost him again.
Yes.
Kind of.
All actors are attention whores anyway, so.
Oh yes, anybody who achieves anything has an ego because they need it to get there.
Yeah, Howard Fine, who's one of the top acting coaches in Hollywood, he's Chris Pine's acting coach actually.
Right.
And Bradley Cooper, yeah, he's one of the top. He's amazing. He said no one ever became an actor because they got too much attention when they were kids.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get enough attention when I was a kid. That would explain a great deal.
Okay, so we've beaten the films to death a little bit. Couple of points left before we wrap up. Star Trek's all about characters. At its core, it's about the people who are in it. Out of the entire franchise, we'll move on to favourite characters. And I'll start off. My ultimate favourite character of the entire franchise is Worf. Because he can be taken seriously, he can be laughed at, he's honourable, but also, you can be the butt of the joke so many times. Michael Dorn's comic timing is excellent, and he can really sell an emotional scene. Dorn completely has it all, and the way that Worf grows throughout the two shows that he's in is just, it's like night and day watching him from Next Generation to Deep Space Nine, where the character changes but also grows and evolves, and most of my favourite lines from any Star Trek thing are from Worf, and the way he pulls things off, and in First Contact especially, where he's talking about how many shots they don't have, and the first thing he does is whack a Borg with his phaser rifle before shooting another one, not wasting any shots. It's just a great character.
Yep.
And he's been in more Star Trek than anyone.
So he has. He's been in films and 2 series.
Yeah.
Yep.
A total of 12 seasons?
So far.
Something like that, yeah. So far, apparently. He's still pushing for a Star Trek Worf, isn't he?
Hey,
yeah, Captain Worf.
Maybe he'll show up on Discovery.
You never know. You never know.
Maybe he could be his incompetent grandfather, Colonel Worf, who is the worst lawyer in the universe. Where his main defense is, if the artificial gravity wasn't working, then how could these men be walking? And then they're wearing gravity boots. It's like, well, that's my argument destroyed.
Or maybe Captain Worf will time travel back to whenever it's set. Who knows?
Could be.
50s.
Yeah. Sandy, do you have a favourite character across the franchise?
I like so many of them. Picard, Worf, like yourself. I think if I'm going to have to say, you can only be friends with one Star Trek character. It'll have to be Garak. I just like his deviousness, the way he manages. He always just manages to get his man. He gets what he wants, even if sometimes it looks like he doesn't. He's getting what he wants. He's a very clever, very very clever individual. Knows a hell of a lot more than he's letting on. So he's a bit of an enigma. Yeah, we know he was part of the Obsidian Order, but to what extent? I just liked him. He's got really witty comebacks when he gets caught out in something.
Yeah,
and it's just good.
Yeah, which story should I believe? All of them. The lies, especially the lies.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good choice.
He's a very good character, and brought a lot to DS9. A lot of depth to DS9.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, what a great character. Nick?
Well, I could go with the cliche and say Picard, who is probably one of my top 2 characters. But I'm going to not do that. I'm going to say Kira.
Good choice.
All the characters, she probably grows, well, maybe except Worf. Even that's arguable. She probably grows the most across the series. And she's just a lot of fun. And I love Nana Visitor as an actor. I think she did a great job with Kira. I think the character's very well written, has some very interesting things to do, very interesting perspectives. And like I say, she grows so much over 7 seasons. One thing in What You Leave Behind that disappointed me, I wish they'd left her in Starfleet by the end.
She really suited that, didn't she?
Also, coming full circle, she comes on board as this Bajoran officer, this rebellious, angry Bajoran officer who doesn't want Starfleet there. And by the end of the series, she is Sisko.
Yeah.
She is in Sisko's place. She is a Starfleet commander in charge of the station. And I think that would have been a nice... She does end up commanding the station, but I think it would have been even nicer if they'd left her in Starfleet for that. But I just loved what they did with Kira over the 7 years.
Yeah.
And
she doesn't lose her edge either. That final scene she has with Quark, where she just chews him out.
Exactly.
And,
she's still her own character, but she grows so much in that time, and she's just so much fun and so interesting to watch over those 7 years. And from all the characters on DS9, certainly, I found her by far probably the most interesting to watch. I liked her way more than Sisko.
Cool. Good choice.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And Alec, do you have a favourite character across the franchise?
We've already talked about Garak. There's no comparison. Garak's my favorite character. He's devious. He's fascinating. He's brilliantly acted by Andrew Robinson. He's clearly my favorite character by far. I just love watching him. And in The Pale Moonlight, he's just absolutely steals the show.
Yeah. No argument there.
And it's interesting, in The Pale Moonlight, he totally does steal the show, but it's Avery Brooks' story, but he completely steals it from him.
Yeah. One of my favourite Garak scenes is where he's trying to convince Worf that he's serious about joining Starfleet.
Yeah.
And Worf comes around to the idea a little bit and he says, well, I might sponsor you. And then he's just, nah, I'm only joking. And then...
Really funny.
Yeah. It's just, he can even everybody can take a rise out of Worf, but he can, he can get around Worf's mistrust of him sometimes. Yeah, which is nice. Yeah.
My honourable mention for characters would be Odo, though.
I always liked Odo.
He's a nice. He's got one of my favourite scenes in DS9. Is where I think it's the Klingons are going to attack in the Way of the Warrior. So he sees Quark outside his place securing himself, and he says, "What are you doing?" I'm going to defend my shop. He says, "With what?" And he shows him a box. It's like, "What? You're gonna hit him with a box?"
Yeah,
and then it all goes, and it turns out the box is empty. There's a piece of paper in there, and it's from Rom saying, "I borrowed your phaser to and I will kill him." With what?
There's another great Odo scene for me. It's I think it might be in the first season where he talks about how people have made him keep a personal log of some sort. Mm-hmm. He has to keep a daily log, and he's like, with everything that's going on, he's like, everything's fine, end log.
Yeah.
That's just the end of it. He clearly can't be bothered with all the solid bureaucracy. Brilliant. Yeah, such a good character. Obviously, not all the characters are great. So, Sandy, do you have a least favourite character?
I was just thinking about that, actually. And I could take the easy way out and say Wesley Crusher. But I'm not going to.
I don't mind Wesley, actually.
No.
Later on.
Yeah. He evolves a little, and he's okay, and he's okay later on, but he's still my least favourite. But that's a bit too cheap because everybody piles on Wesley Crusher, so that's too easy.
He's good in the episode where everyone gets addicted to Pokemon Go.
Oh yeah, I had to think there. What on earth are you talking about? The game.
The game.
Yeah, the game. Yep, he's actually not too bad in that. I'm actually having difficulty trying to pick one that I don't like as much. I think I'd have to say Sisko in a certain extent.
Interesting.
purely because of the. He has some decisive moments, but he also has some moments where he's a wee bit too goody two shoe and a wee bit too profity. Just takes that a bit too far, I think, at times. And it's maybe that's just cheap writing. It's often used as an excuse for something.
Yeah.
Of why he knows something that he shouldn't.
Yeah, I can see that. Nick, how about you?
Ooh, I've been struggling with this all day. Difficult to pick one character. There's part of me wants to say Cisco, but Sandy's already said.
Sorry.
Not for any particular reason, but Avery Brooks just puts me off on occasion. I do like him, but he puts me off on occasion. I would have to say I don't know. It's really hard to pick one that I really least favourite.
Everybody's got their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, this is the thing. Picking favourites is easy. Picking least favourites, not so much. Come back to me in a minute.
Okay. Alec, do you want to jump in?
With my least favorite character?
Yes.
For
any reason.
Least favorite character. Wow. I guess I could go with what's her name on Next Generation? Marina Sirtis' character.
Troy.
Counselor Troy. I just thought it was such a bad idea from the beginning, and I thought her character was just, for most of the first half of the show, I just hated her. She was kind of mamby-pamby and, I feel joy. Oh, God, right off the bat in the pilot, she just pissed me off to no end. She did have one of the best episodes of Next Generation, the one in which her mom, what's that?
I was going to say Face of the Enemy. No,
I didn't. It was okay. No, the one with Laxwana Troy, where her mom remembers that she had another child.
Dark Page.
Yeah, I mean, geez, I cried in that one. That was brilliant.
I liked the one where she learned how to be a commander.
Yeah, that was good. That was good too. And listen, thank God they finally put her in a uniform, because all the other costumes just were pissing me off. So yeah, I was happy when she, finally learned how to take it.
And that brings me to my least favorite character, and it has to be Loxana Troy.
Yeah, I would. Really? Yeah. Same here. I'm switching from Cisco to Loxana.
Yeah.
No backsies.
We're all agreed we all hate Loxana.
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to hate Loxana, but yeah, definitely, with the exception of Dark Page, yeah, not a character I look forward to seeing.
I thought some of her material with Odo was particularly strong.
Yeah, that's true. She's still my least favourite character.
Yeah, I can see why.
That's not to say I hate her or anything. She's just my least favourite character.
For me, it's got to be Neelix. Can't stand the guy.
Yeah, I don't mind Neelix.
I think he's entitled. He's whiny. He thinks he knows everything. He frequently gets everyone in danger with his quote unquote survival skills. It's like in Basics when he picks up the bones that are at the mouth of this cave, and tells Hogan to pick them all up, and then he drops the one that he picked up.
Gets Hogan killed.
Yeah, he's just worthless, and every time I see him, he's doing something really stupid. I mean, he brings cheese on board that almost destroys the ship. He infects it with photonic fleas. Just everything he does is killing everyone. So, Neelix.
And he's a paedophile.
Oh, careful now.
What? Oh yeah, Kess, I suppose.
Well, how old is Kess? Really?
1.
Yeah, but she's the Acompa version of an adult. Come on.
Yeah. Bit skeezy.
Always liked Kess. Poor Kess.
You can edit out the whole paedophile thing, but bit skeezy. Neelix Kess was always a bit skeezy.
Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, I suppose you could argue any long life species going out with a less long life species could be seen like that. But I don't. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Neelix anyway. So we got through pretty much the entire franchise, all the characters. I think before we wrap up, just a brief discussion of what we'd like to see next, what we might want to expect from Discovery, and I don't know, future films or whatever, anything that you want to see from the franchise in the future. And
TNG.
More TNG.
It'll never happen, but I would like to see some of the TNG characters, at least the ones that could still pull it off, appear in the franchise to some extent. I really would have liked to see the TNG reunion movie next year. Next year is the 30th anniversary.
Yeah. Patrick Stewart still looks more or less like he always has.
Could still pull off Picard. LeVar Burton could still easily play Geordi. Brent Spiner, well, have killed Data off anyway, so no worries there.
Or did they?
Or did they? Well, he would have been back,
Yeah.
They cloned his brain.
He's back in those tie-in comics anyway.
He's back in the novels as well.
Yeah.
Albeit not as straightforward as he is in the comics. I would like to see some revisitation of TNG next year. Next year's the 30th anniversary. They'll have a new series ongoing. They could do some kind of tie-in with TNG. That's what I'll believe it when I see it. I would like to see that.
I used to read the Titan novels with Riker as captain, and I thought they were really good.
Good. If it was 10 years ago, I would love to have seen a Titan series. That boat sailed. Same as the Captain Sulu series. That boat long sailed.
Yeah, I think Frakes would still do it, though.
Frakes would probably... Well, I don't know. Frakes is pretty busy as a director. I'm not sure he'd have time to commit to a series anymore. And I don't know whether he would want to. He's kind of stopped acting.
Yeah. Cool. Sandy, what would you like to see in the future?
I'm with Nick on that. I'd like to see the TNG cast get just one last hurrah.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Nick said, they didn't get the best out in that they did in Nemesis. It could have been done better. And I would like to see some sort, even some sort of hookup tie-in with most of the series. It's put together somehow. I don't know what. I'd just like to see more of the Star Trek that I love, and then not this 2009 onwards stuff. It looks like we're going to get that with Discovery.
Maybe, yeah.
Who knows? I mean, there's some people on board there who know what they're doing. They know Trek, so I'm confident that they're going to deliver us something that's fresh, but also deep down Star Trek. Yeah.
I think the thing I just want to see is good stories with good characters. I don't care what era it's set in. I don't care what events happen. I'm more interested in just seeing good, well-written science fiction. Mm-hmm. And whatever form that takes, I'm on board with. After Beyond, I'm keen to see more of the Kelvinverse, as it's now known.
Well, Beyond has sold me on the Kelvinverse. They finally got it.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but they finally got it right.
Yeah, Captain Kirk is finally Captain Kirk. Everybody is good. Yeah.
Do you know why? They got a Trekkie as a director.
Trekkie, the writer as well.
As a writer as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he was also reined in by a not quite as big a Trek fan with Doug Jung, I think. Yeah. He probably tried to stifle the fanboy flames a little bit.
That's probably not a bad thing.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. Well, Nick Meyer wasn't a fan before he took on the job of Wrath of Khan, but he became one as he was working on it, and he understood it. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it takes that little bit of distance to push it into the stratosphere. Mm-hmm. So I would, there's all sorts of concepts that they could do. There's a lot of scientific discoveries that people are playing with that you could fully realize on a television show or in a film. We could see all that. I think there's plenty of universe left to explore with Star Trek, and I just want to see as much of it as is humanly possible.
I agree.
Yeah. Alec, what about you?
I want to see Axanar.
I knew you were going to say that.
Because you know me so well, Nick.
I was going to say it, but then I went. I was going to say it, but I went. No, I'll let him say it.
As a donor, I would like to see it too.
Oh, God.
Of course we would all like to see that.
Yeah, because I think it's, I think the reason and Nick, you were with me in Las Vegas, and it was amazing, the love for Axanar. I mean, so many people came up to me and talked to me about it in Vegas, and it's a real passion people have a real passion for original Star Trek. Whether it's Next Generation or whether it's TOS, whatever it is you grew up on, that's what we want. Now, listen, I have said, and I promoted Star Trek Beyond. I pushed it on the Axanar pages, told everyone to go see it, because I really think it is good Star Trek. I think, listen, we're never going to, if you're hearkening back to the days of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, and Shatner, Nimoy, and Kelly, they're long gone. You're not going to get that Star Trek again. You're not going to get it on TV as well as the movies. But because TV has changed and movies have changed.
Yeah.
Storytelling has moved on. And no studio is going to, if you go and pitch Star Trek the Motion Picture, no studio would want to make that movie. They're all going to go, there's no way anyone's going to want to see this movie. Give me some action. Right now you pitch Star Trek 2 and they're going to go, oh yeah, that's a movie we can sell. So the beauty of Star Trek the beauty of Star Trek Beyond is that it meshes what a modern audience wants to see, at least in the perception of the studios, which is, big action, with Star Trek. Because as you guys pointed out, Simon Pegg, the co-writer, is a Star Trek fan. Justin Lin is a Star Trek fan. And they get it. And they made a movie where our characters came to life, and we see the Kirk, Spock, and McCoy interactions that we wanted to see. We see, so I think Star Trek Beyond did, as you said, Nick, it sold me on the Kelvin-verse. Absolutely.
Because it's not done. I mean, it's still got some markets to open in, notably China. It's not done as well as the last two, and that makes me nervous.
Well, they've already confirmed the next one, so it's getting made no matter what.
Well,
they've confirmed it, but that doesn't mean they can't change their minds.
True.
Right, exactly, and they very well may, because even though they said they're going to do a Star Trek 4, Star Trek Beyond is not even close to breaking even, right? It needs to do about $400 million to break even. It's around 231 according to Box Office Mojo. I don't know if that's up to date. So it's struggling now. Yes, it hasn't opened in China, and they hope that's going to be a big market for it. And hopefully they do $100 million there. But it would be a shame if this movie, just when they get it finally, is the last Star Trek movie Paramount makes. And Paramount has serious problems that anyone can read. Read about.
I don't think it will be the last Star Trek movie, but
it could be for a while.
It could be for a while, and it depends on what form the next one takes, and whether they continue with these characters, whether they do another reboot. I don't know at this point.
Yeah. Interesting.
I've been in this position before where, oh God, we're done now. After the motion picture, they thought we were done. After Star Trek 5, they definitely thought they were done.
Well, I mean, no matter what happens with the film franchise, we will definitely get the series.
It's already made profit.
So yeah, it's the future could be bright for Star Trek. I don't think it'll ever be what it was like when there was 2 shows at a time on the air and films coming out all the time. But
yeah, I don't think we'll ever. Well, you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
Discovery apparently is already in profit.
You know what? We never thought we'd see a Star Wars movie with Han, Leia, and Luke back either.
That's true. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, isn't that what Star Trek teaches us?
Indeed.
That anything is possible. So, yeah. On that note, I think we've given a great tribute to a great franchise for its 50th birthday in this long discussion. I've certainly had fun with this discussion, talking about the best and worst.
It's been an absolute hoot.
Yeah, and I mean, who doesn't love talking about Star Trek? Certainly not us.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, so thank you to anyone who listened this far. Thank you to Nick. Sandy and Alec for joining me on this.
My pleasure.
My pleasure.
And
Absolutely.
Well, it's been great. And if you'll all get on the transporter pad, I'll beam you out. Until next time. Goodbye, all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. Our mission is now complete, and our tribute to 50 years of Star Trek has ended. Thank you to the panellists, as well as all who listened, for joining us on this journey. A special thank you to YouTubers 331eRock, nstens1117, and Sam Dillard of Samostudios for their musical contributions to these episodes. As a side note, if anyone's planning to go to Destination Star Trek Birmingham in October, I will be there, and I'm planning to record a podcast throughout the weekend. So if you come across me and have a few things to say, then contributions are encouraged. If you have trouble finding me, then just look for the guy in the Star Trek theme clothes. If you like what you heard here, then please subscribe on iTunes or any major podcasting app and join us on the next Kneel Before Pod.